What's up, everybody? We are back with another episode of Shoot and Shift. I am Kristin Johnston, and this is my friend
Nicole Magic.
And today we're going to be talking about the mystical aspects of shifting into higher consciousness. So the past couple episodes we were kind of talking about some of the more challenging aspects of shifting. We were talking a little bit about the chakras and some taboo aspects of shifting. But today we want to talk about some of the stuff that we think is really fun and playful and creative and exciting. And that's the mystical aspects, the stuff that's kind of beyond the human perception, more of the spiritual stuff.
Yeah, things that challenge your beliefs.
Yeah, so we've been talking about, Nicole has a little book, and so it's one of those books that's going to expand your consciousness, and it's some of our favorite material. So I don't know if you want to explain a little bit about the Caballian, and then we can kind of dive into some of the stuff we love about it.
If you've never heard of or read the Caballian, it is by the three initiates, and it is Hermetic principles, and it goes through the Hermetic principles of the universe. So definitely a life companion, I think, because it explains things in such detail, and every single time you read it, you peel back another layer. So you can read this over and over and over again and still come up with new ways of looking at it and new ways of delving deeper into your own soul.
Yeah, it's like every single time you pick it up, no matter where you're at in your life, a different principle or a different part will just really resonate and really inspire and just, again, get you to think differently. It starts to expand and kind of stretch your beliefs. And, you know, if you think about like the more mystical aspects of reality, what you will discover is that what we believe about the nature of reality tends to create our experience of it. And
yes.
I think one of my favorite things about the Caballian is it gives these very basic, applicable principles, you know, things that you might not necessarily think of, but somehow it's like you intuitively already know them. You know, I think the first principle is around the law of mentalism, right? Like everything is mental. So I remember my first experience with understanding the power of my mind. And for me, it was an introduction to the law of attraction. So this was the precursor to really diving into the mystical, more of the mystical text. But I had this awakening reading the book The Secret, this concept that I was responsible for my creation of reality. And at the time of reading it, my reality sucked. Like it was pretty tough. But it was also really enlightening because I realized, well, if I'm responsible for creating this, and if I just change my mind, then I can create anything. And so that's part of like what's so exciting, I think, to Nicole and I, is that we've taken this material and then we've created lives that we really love and lives that are magical and full of, you know, mysticism. And the Caballian can lead you into that too, of like taking responsibility of your thoughts. Like how has taking responsibility of your own mental process shifted your life?
So much. I mean, when you said my life sucked, I laughed because we've all been there, right? Maybe some of you out there are feeling that way right now, and you're just saying that this really, really sucks. And I got into these phases of going through these massive traumatic transformations, and with each one, I looked at it a different way. So it was almost like it graduated to the next level and then to the next level until I look at it and I negate all the negativity now. And when you look at it, when you're first going through it, you kind of get into that victim, villain, hero mode, right? You might feel like the victim. Other times, you shift in and out of victim, villain, hero very quickly and easily. Because it's all that lower level of blaming, feeling bad, being that hero, like, okay, look at me, I'm doing everything for everybody, and why isn't anybody doing anything for me? Which brings you right back to that victim again. So the cycle continues. When you look at things, I now say when things are seemingly negative, because they might feel that way right now in the present moment. But if you really step back and look at the big picture, it's not really negative. It's just, we'll get into probably that other principle of the pendulum swinging, that it will swing as far on the right as on the left. And we've brought this up before in some of our other episodes very lightly. But a lot of times you'll find that something good happens and something bad happens at the same time, or seemingly negative, right? And if you look at it, you're just stripping away the pieces that are no longer supporting you, which is why it seems negative and it hurts, because when you're sloughing your skin, think about it. If you're exfoliating your skin, you might have pieces that come off readily, and then there's others that it's very abrasive and it might sting or hurt, but it's necessary to bring out the new skin. And when you do that, now it's a whole new cycle.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm thinking about like a snake that's, like shedding its skin, that the skin becomes so tight and that's really uncomfortable. So sometimes that negative experience is really, it really comes as a catalyst for our growth, to teach us how to alchemize ourselves. Pain comes when we realize like something we're doing isn't working. Something about the way we're living life isn't working or could be transmuted. And so the mystical aspect of this is that we learn to transmute our suffering. And it's one of the things Nicole and I are both super passionate about is alchemy. And so if you look back into the history books, alchemy is a process of purifying base metals into gold. So purifying them, purifying lead, and until it reaches its highest level of purification, which is golden. And if you look at even some of our saints and our mystics and masters, they all have this sort of like golden halo around their head as a symbol of spiritual attainment. And so alchemy isn't always just actually purifying metal into gold. It also has a spiritual equivalent as the metaphor of the purification of the human spirit, and moving ourselves from what Nicole was talking about, the archetypes of the victim and the hero, moving ourselves through those lower levels of our humanity and really using them to ascend into our spirit. And that process, I find it to be really exciting and really fun once you learn the language. And that's why books, at least for me, it's been books like the Caballian, books like The Secret, certain books that introduce these concepts of power. What is the human experience all about? And so I kind of want to just dive into that first principle of mentalism, because most people, when they're caught in those archetypes of the victim, of the hero,
It's tough.
Yeah, they're not necessarily.
You get sucked in. It's like a quicksand.
Yeah, and not necessarily taking personal responsibility for what we're creating. So a big part of spiritual growth is taking our power back. It's taking our power back and being responsible for the lives that we create, because those lives create a ripple effect and they influence everybody around us.
Yeah, absolutely. There was something that I wanted to say about, when I mentioned how like that pendulum swinging, it's important to recognize that in this whole cycle, and as we're creating and what we're thinking on and what we're focusing on is, when you have that pendulum that's swinging and it seems like good things happen and then seemingly negative things happen at the same time, that's just part of the rhythm and the flow. And it's important to not get into the space of every time something good happens, something bad happens, right? Because you're not being punished for all the good things that are happening to you. It's just the flow. So when you recognize that and you can step into that and see that the negative pieces are there to support you as well, that's an alarm system to say, hey, something's not in alignment for you to continue moving in this awesome direction, because it happens continuously. And if we recognize it, we're always moving in this forward motion with that excitement, because even now, there are so many things that I've been working on over the last couple of years that are coming together. It feels like finally the purse strings are being pulled together, and yet at the same time, I was sitting there yesterday going through this whole process again saying, okay, I recognize this because I feel very chaotic right now, even though I'm not in chaos. It feels that way because all these things are aligning, so other things are presenting themselves as, okay, prioritize this, and it feels chaotic because things need to be stripped down into simpler forms, right? So one of my shifting mechanisms that I talk to my clients about, and I have like all these little famous quotes with my clientele, and one of them is, how great can it get? Or how great can it be? How great can it get? I say, how great can it get? And instead of because I've heard so many people come to me and they're like, what's gonna happen next? What now? In that negative sense. And again, if everything is mental and your thoughts are creating your reality, if you're focusing on that space, you are then calling more of that to you. So to easily and quickly shift out of that, how great can it get? And really tap into how great can it get, and asking the universe, like, all right, show me how great it can be.
Like you're searching for the silver lining no matter what's happening. Even in our perceptions of negativity, there's usually a seed of potential if we're willing to ask ourselves those questions instead of just resisting. I think it's Esther and Jerry Hicks that say, or Abraham that says, in the absence of resistance, all things become possible. As soon as we're averting negativity or something that's causing us pain or discomfort, and then we're attaching to what feels good, we're caught in that pendulum swing, and we're chasing one thing in favor of the other, as opposed to really harnessing our consciousness or our mentalism and realizing that our perceptions are going to influence the outcome of our experience. And while you were speaking, it actually made me think about that principle of our consciousness, and how you had said something, things seeds you had planted years ago are bearing fruit today, and how so many of us, because we don't see the immediate results of our actions, we will choose to give up on them. But really, we're not, it makes me think about the principles of mentalism, because if you focus your consciousness long enough, then you will see the material manifestation of the power of your thoughts. And I think that's what the masters understood, was it wasn't, oh, let me have a positive thought and have an instant positive experience. It was, let me use the power of my consciousness consistently, and I will trust with ultimate faith that if I continue to focus my consciousness in this direction, the material will manifest around me. And so that's that part of mysticism that I love so much, is that there is no empty space. It is all full of something, and that something is consciousness, and that consciousness is intelligence, and that is what we have the power to direct this energy with our own mentalism. That means we have the power to create worlds within us. Human beings are not powerless. We are not mere mortals, bound to flesh and bone. We are infinite, creative, spiritual beings. And when we have conversations like this, I feel that. And I hope you guys feel that too. I hope you feel that resonance of instead of trying to protect yourselves from a harsh and painful world, instead shift your perception to, what would I love? How great can it get? What do I want to create?
Find the people that are resonating and in alignment with your thoughts, your feelings, and band together with them and create something new and positive together.
Absolutely.
Oh
absolutely. Yes.
There's just so much.
And it's so exciting. And we were talking earlier too about the power of your vibration, and how if you're in a collective vibration of your choosing, something that you're inspired about, something, and you're gathering with other people who have that same intention, that same frequency that rises your vibration, essentially your capacity for creation is increased. So having people who inspire you is so important, and helping people fine-tune their own thought process what human beings are capable of creating is it's limitless. And so if you find yourself in the world of temptation, stuck in the world of matter, and caught in the pendulum swing,
Right.
caught in the base metals, because back to our reference of alchemy, if you find yourself caught in that place, all that needs to happen is an ascension of your frequency. So what brings you joy? What brings you inspiration? How can you raise your vibration up? And for me, a lot of times it's focusing on the things that are happening in the world that are incredibly exciting. Like right now, we are watching a widespread awakening of consciousness and through the use of plant medicines. That excites me. It doesn't mean that I go out and partake in medicine ceremonies, although I often support the people who do. I love to witness that because to me, that's a world that I love to see being created because I know it's expanding people's consciousness. So focus on the things that excite you, the things that bring you joy, that make you feel optimistic, as opposed to using your mental faculty for what you're afraid of.
Right, and even if you have to go into something from the past, pull out something from the past that you felt, however it is that you want to feel. So if you're feeling like you don't have the confidence, go back to a time when you felt very confident and supported. If you are looking for, bringing in more financial flow into your space, then go back into a time when you had money to purchase something that you were really excited to buy, and just hold that for as long as you can and ask how great can it get, right? And just hold in that space as long as you can. You will automatically shift.
Absolutely.
And that's the beauty of it. If you focus on those things, you're not meant to feel pain. Our bodies are not meant to hold pain. So you easily forget it. And if you go into a space where you can hold something other than that pain that you're holding inside, you will start to shift. The universe will respond and give you more. So.
Yes, and the key to this mentalism and using it to manifest is to maintain that focus independent of your external circumstance, which is where it gets really challenging. It's where most people want to give up. It's like, oh, I'm doing all this manifesting, I'm thinking positively, but this thing outside of me is still happening, because the world outside of us will often bait us back into our habitual unconscious patterns of, belief and behavior. So the mystical aspect is, how strongly can we hold on to those visions, right? Revisit the past and those vibrations. How strongly can we maintain those vibrations independent of our external circumstance?
Be the ripple.
Exactly. And not be drawn into the illusions of the world, but to be focused on creating a new earth, a new reality where all beings are held in love and creativity. And, that's really the bigger, larger mission of expanding collective consciousness and having conversations like this, is to create a more beautiful, more peaceful, more loving, and more connected world. So it was really great being with you guys today, and really great, as always, chatting with Nicole.
And if you grab a copy of the Caballian, we'll be talking more about some of the principles that are in here. And this is the short version. There is a longer version out there, but get that book, read that, and follow us.
Yes, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll get notifications too when we're shooting the shift. And definitely pick up your copy of the Caballian and let us know what you think about it. Leave comments below, and we'll see you guys next week.
Take it easy.